Now below that, I've put the language in the law that must be put on the ballot. That's word for word. You just fill in the blank with whatever county. Take a moment to look at that. And there are two things that are highlighted in blue. We're talking about paying money for a transportation network in this region, and then it says in the state. Well, now wait a minute. I thought I'm paying money within my region for regional projects. What's this in the state business? I sent that question to the governor's transit policy advisor about 2 weeks ago and asked him what their interpretation of it was. You know what he said? I don't either, because I haven't got the response yet. We're also talking about transit projects and programs. Now you wonder what kind of programs are coming in. Now we already have a list that was voted by our elected representatives. You don't see it referring to that list specifically in there at all. And when do you argue about the terms of a contract? Before or after you vote for it? Okay, we also talked about the reimposition. That would have to be approved by each house, or each chamber, the Senate and the House. And then it would go out to each one of the county commissions. And it would take a majority of county commissions in each special district to approve it before it could go on the ballot, and then you all would be asked to re-tax yourself. And we've already talked about some of the consequences, so here's your next question. And these are questions to ask your legislators, your county commissioners, chambers of commerce, your friends, your neighbors that support all this. And the question is, why is government even in this business? They're not running Delta Airlines. They're not running Greyhound. Why is government in the business of doing this? Here's some additional solutions, and I've called these much better, because instead of just throwing stones, you got to have some alternatives. The first one up there is balancing land use with infrastructure. And that means you don't put up a whole bunch and approve the zoning for projects that are going to create a whole raft of traffic problems, whether you're in the Atlanta metro area, you're in Tennessee, or anywhere else. You'll see a shift. It used to be we'd go out, zone, create industrial areas or residential areas, and then we would follow that with integral transportation routes, maybe trains, buses, and roads, could be waterways, Tennessee River. And we're seeing a flip-flop here over the past several years, and that's put in the transit and then force the land area to conform to it. Gwinnett County used to be the poster child for strip malls and just rampant growth. And there were some benefits to that. They got the impact fees, and they collect the taxes from all of those businesses. But what do they also get? An awful lot of traffic and congestion. Down in Fayette County, we took a little different track. We've got a very tight land use policy down there in zoning and plan. Of course, we don't get all those impact fees, so our budgets are a little tighter. But those should be individual choices of the citizens of each of those areas. Also invest in the best cost-to-benefit projects. I'll get into some of that in a little bit, but I saw very little comparison of different alternatives on a cost-benefit basis. I went up and addressed the Regional Transportation Roundtable, sent emails out to every member, engaging as a citizen with our government. I got one response out of 42 emails from one small-town mayor that sat on there. I said, all right, you didn't listen to me then, maybe you'll listen to me now. Also have the beneficiaries pay the costs. This is interesting. I spoke at a Chamber of Commerce down in Fayette County, And a lot of the chambers are really for all this transit. Bunch of shiny trains, lots of activity, ribbon cuttings, get your name associated with it. And they say it's great for everybody, particularly business, because it'll allow employees who no longer could come to work there to get on transit and just walk to the business and return, retrace their steps on the way back. I'm saying, all right, if it's such a great deal for you businesses, why don't we draw a half-mile circle around every one of the transit stops and impose a proximity tax on it, and you pay it. And all of a sudden, it's not such a good idea. Also, the fares. What percent of the cost of operating transit does the fare cover?
33%.
25, 20, 30. It depends on the system. Probably, well, the best ones are over in Asia because they actually make money. None of them in the United States do. MARTA's at about 25%.
We'll get 400 people per car.
Well, that's true. That's true. Agenda 21 has already hit Asia. Also, you see number 4 there is we've got market-killing subsidies and riders' dependence on them. What do I mean by that? Well, if the government is paying 75% of the actual cost of moving these riders around, and I, as Bob Ross, want to compete in a market economy, who's going to pay 75% of my operating costs? Nobody. So if I charge $2.50 or $3 or $5 versus their $2.50, no one's going to come ride Bob Ross's little van service because the government is killing the market out there with the subsidies. Additional non-government support, that's the way we used to do things, you know, a generation or so ago, or several generations ago, where it was more family, taking mom to the doctor. It may have been a faith-based group. We've got a great community organization down in Fayette County that is right now covering 60% of all of their costs without having the government involved. And there's just a dynamic leader down there, and she's looking to close that, so the government is providing none of it, but they are still able to provide individual service to senior citizens that cannot get to appointments and necessary trips. And finally, some of the technological innovations. The ARC, Atlanta Regional Commission, a study group for our region, a staff resource, came out with a report this week, and they estimated the number of billions of dollars that MARTA would bring in if we expanded it out to the year 2040. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. We had the administration come into power and tell us they were going to reduce unemployment to 8% within a year or two. And they've got more resources than ARC. They can't even estimate things out a couple of years, and these guys are estimating out to 2040. But I doubt if that takes into account a lot of the technological innovations that may come up. California has already demonstrated the ability with computer-assisted cars. And Toyota's got this now. You can buy a car and you set your cruise control on it, get out on the interstate, and if you're getting too close to the guy in front of it, it senses it and slows down. You know, if you've got a lot of gap there, it'll speed up. Well, they put something like that on cars. They tested them on a freeway, had about 7 or 8 of them, and they found out that one, the computer wasn't using a cell phone. It wasn't eating French fries. It wasn't turning around and talking to whoever was next to him or adjusting the radio. So you could get 3 times as many cars onto the highway in the same amount of space. That's like having 3 times as much capacity with your existing highway.